everyone, and welcome to the Jen Marples Show. You've got me today. Hello, how are you? How is everyone doing? I am so excited to be coming to you today solo because I have got a jam-packed masterclass of a podcast episode for you today. And this is in celebration of my shiny new Jen Marples agency that I just launched. You guys have heard me talk about it. You've heard me tease it. If you're on my newsletter list, you've seen the big announcements. But today, it is official. We are up and out and launched. And I am so excited about it because, you know me. I've got one mission in life, and that is to help all of you to realize and understand and appreciate and know in your heart and soul that, first of all, you're not too fucking old. And the second part of that is to step into the midlife spotlight. And so my agency is poised to help you do that. And I've got an entrepreneur program called Stepping into the Spotlight, which is a bit turnkey. And it really gives you all the tools that you need to get out there. So on today's show, I'm going to take you through all of it. I'm going to give you so many tips and tools. You're going to want to refer back to this episode many, many times because I'm going to run through it. I'm going to run through everything that you need to step out and step into that spotlight and feel confident in your messaging and your presentation and how you're presenting yourself to the world so you can make the impact you want to make, get those clients you want to get, you want to sell those products, and basically serve all those beautiful people that you want to serve. Because I know all of us, midlife women, women over 40, we are mission driven. I am 100% mission driven. I wish I was money driven, but I'm not. I am mission driven. I need to be making an impact on the world. And I know you want to make a big impact on the world. So I am here today to give you tools to do that. So I am so excited you're here. And I just love speaking to you now more intimately every other week. I'm so excited. I've decided to do this again because if you've been with me for a long time, when I started my podcast, I had 2 episodes a week and I spoke to you once a week. And while that was amazing, it was a cadence that I couldn't quite keep up with. So now I love this new cadence. If you get me one week, the next week you get a fabulous guest. So every time I'm on, you can count on me to give you tips and tools and knowledge that I know on how to live your best life, how to up-level your life, business, and all of that. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I talk to so many women. I talk to you. I talk to my clients. And I know one of the hardest things about getting out there is the mindset and feeling scared and feeling fearful of actually going out there and spreading the good word. And that would be the message about your business. And I want to tell you that you're not alone in thinking that. I feel the same way. I've got to, shove the inner critic off my shoulders and just have courage. It really is all about having courage to get out there and shine. But, society, you've heard me talk about this a million times. They haven't made it easy. Women, it's not been okay for us to step up and out. We've been, told to, go sit in the corner, don't shine too bright. You might rattle some feathers. What's the line from, oh God, Dirty Dancing. It was, nobody puts baby in the corner. And that's kind of what I'm here to talk to you about. No one's going to put you midlife baby in the corner. This is all about us stepping up and out. And so I just want to talk to you a little bit about the value, or I'm not going to say the value, the importance of having courage over confidence. Once you do a lot of the tools that I'm going to lay out today, you will get confident over time. But when you're starting something new, you're pivoting, you've decided to take a stand and go off in a new direction, you want to actually, or even go for a new position at work, you're going to have shaky nerves. You're not going to feel confident doing it. But what you need is courage. And if you take one little courageous step today, and you take another little courageous step tomorrow, all of a sudden you're going to have all these steps underneath you and you're going to go like, what? Like it's hard? But guess what? Here's the punchline. Once you get to one certain place in business, like say I've got this podcast and now I'm going out speaking, and then the speaking thing for me was very scary. It's going to be scary. Every time you want to do something new and level up, it's going to be scary. So if you wait for that confidence to happen, it's not going to happen. You just have to have that bit of courage. And so a lot of what I do with my clients, and you hear, and I'm going to be working on with you all now, is the mindset piece. So know a couple of things. You're worthy. You have an important message. You have an important business. You have an important product. You have an important service. You have something out there that you want to give to the world, and you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to those people that you want to help to get out there. So just know that right now. You deserve to shine. You deserve to step into the spotlight. You deserve to take up space. You deserve to get heard. And guess what? You deserve to get paid for your expertise and for whatever it is that you're selling. You do. And as a little sidebar, I'm going to have someone on the podcast who is going to help us get what we are worth. I'm going to have this woman on who is a money expert, and she is going to help us overcome our mindset and our beliefs around money and charging what we're worth. That's a complete other discussion, but I've got you. That is coming up. But I want you to know, for the sake of today, that you are worth it. You deserve it. And it is your God-given right to get out there and spread the message and welcome in all those beautiful new clients and customers that are just waiting for you. They're just waiting for you to show up and tell them how you can help them. So just please know that. Okay. So first of all, I also need to let you know that, all right, we're going to cut this for 1 second. The first step, I've got many steps for you. The first step in stepping up and out is getting really clear on who you are. Who is your true, authentic self? Authenticity has been thrown around. You hear it a lot. People are throwing it around left, right, and center. And I feel like it's almost, its importance and what it means is getting diluted. Authenticity really means is showing up as your true self and having no apologies for it and standing in that truth and power. Now, I've said this before, but society has told us not to be our authentic selves. And you're like me, you're probably Gen X, we're midlife women, and we were told to kind of conform and fit into a structure that was built not by us. So we were just operating under rules that weren't made by us. So, you know, give yourself a break. I was doing it, you were doing it, we were all doing it. But now, and especially in midlife, it's time to like give zero fucks. Okay. This is, we're not too fucking old. So we've got to step into who we are, because once we do that, you will attract your ideal people. Now, I talk to women all the time. So if we dilute our message and you try to be like an avocado and a margarita, which, you know, we're not going to be avocados and margaritas. No, not everyone is going to like us. And it's fine. The more you step into who you are, the more people are going to come to you, and the more people are going to run away from you. Great. You want that to happen. You want that to happen. I'm going to use me an example here for a second. When I came out 2.5 years ago, almost, with, you know, launching the podcast, and I came out with You're Not Too Fucking Old message, I knew I was going to take a hit. I knew people, there are going to be people out there who are like, oh God, she's saying the F word, you know, and they came at me. People came at me. I had friends come at me. I had the trolls on the interwebs come at me. I knew I would lose people, and it's fine. I stand behind my messaging. I stand behind it. I think you all know, if you've been listening to me for a while, like, it is in every fiber of my being. And when I was thinking about that messaging, if you're not too old versus you're not too fucking old, you're not too old just kind of landed there. You're not too fucking old really packs a punch. And it was a rallying cry, and it was meant to wake you up and to shake you and to make you like think, God, no, I'm not too old. If someone's just saying I'm not too old, it's like, it just lays there. But the not too fucking old, it was urgent. It was necessary. It made you want to take action. And so I went all in on it, and I actually have it trademarked, and it's officially 100% trademark approved. It's going through one or two final little stages internationally, but I went all in on it and threw money behind it because I was so passionate about that message. There is a caveat here, and this is, I'm always going to tell you how it is. It's not always easy. I'm not going to say it's never easy. It's really, truly never easy to step into who you are meant to be and who you truly are. It just isn't. Even with me starting 2.5 years ago, going in, I'm like, here's my message. There was a couple points where I faltered and I was like, oh, I pulled back a little. And I was like, maybe this isn't the message for me. Went back in, pulled back. And then really, truly the past couple months went all the way the F back in. And it happens. You get shaky, and it's because of all that programming and all the messaging we have been consuming, whether we like it or not. It's just in every fiber of our being, again, to make everybody happy and to be palatable and to want everyone to like us and to just be the person who, has a million friends and all of that. So that's just been drilled into us, and it keeps us small, it keeps us stagnant, and it keeps us away from truly shining and stepping into the spotlight. So I wanted to give you that example. So once you sort of mastered, I'm not going to say mastered, once you've embraced this art of, okay, I've got to be authentic. What is that message? You really need to sit with yourself and go, what am I saying? And who am I saying it to? So it's a two-part process. So you've got to figure out who you're talking to. I clearly know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to midlife women, entrepreneurs, women who are doing all the things. We've got aging parents. We've got changing hormones and bodies. We're thriving. We need to make money. We have big purpose, big visions. So I'm clear on who I'm talking to. So you've got to get clear with that, because then the message is form with your person in mind. So think about your person. Who are your people? Where are they? And then create messages that speak to those people, and ones that you truly believe in, of course, because the authenticity, here's another thing. Like, everybody else is, there's only one you. And if you feel like, oh, there's a million realtors, there's a million accountants, there's a million photographers, there's a million marketers, there's a million of everything. There's competition in every business, but there's only one you. And that's why being the authentic you stands out. And by you stepping into that authenticity and having crystal clear messaging about who you are and what you stand for and what you provide, it's going to attract your people to you. You don't need everybody to come to you. You just need those couple handfuls of people to come to you. And in the case of products, you do need lots of people to come to you. But I got to tell you right now, in this day and age and how we're doing business, you coming out as a founder and this leader is everything. And talking about failures, talking about bumps in the road. So I talk to you about all my bumps in the road. There isn't a straight path. There isn't like, oh, you wake up one day and it's all pretty perfect and it's all good. And, there's blood, sweat, and tears behind it. People want to know, because gone are the days of, oh, it's all shiny. People can sense bullshit a mile away. They can sense it a mile away. Go ahead and be you. We've been pretending for too long. This is your permission slip once and for all. Be you and talk to the people you want to talk to. So you sit down and create crystal concise messages to speak to those people. A couple examples again from me. You've got the "you're not too fucking old." That one's loud and clear. I've also described myself as the self-proclaimed champion of midlife women and a cheerleader for all women. That is sort of my overarching theme. It didn't come to me the first day I decided to lean in all the way on women. It came over time. And I've also got a second part of my message now that I've just added, which is, you're not too fucking old. The second part of that is to step into the midlife spotlight. So that just came to me over the past few months. And so I'm telling you all this so you don't stop before you start. You've got to start somewhere and understand that your messaging, and this is going into personal branding, is going to evolve over time. And so let's talk about personal branding. That's number 2. So you've got your messaging. locked in. You've got who you are and who you want to speak to locked in. That is the core of your personal brand. And so then you're going to add on layers to that. And so one of the layers, you've got messaging as your foundational core. And then you've got some of the sort of the external, the look and feel. It's your fonts, it's your colors, it's how you're showing up. Are you showing up like, you know me, I'm in pink. It's energetic, it's vibrant. That's who I am. There's no bullshit. The way I talk to you here on the podcast is what you're going to get in person. Actually, I'm probably even crazier and more exuberant in person. Something about the podcast, you know, it sort of tamps you down a little bit, but I am who I am. I am unabashedly excited for every single woman that I meet. That's what you're going to see in person. I'm going to like cheer for you. I'm going to hoot and holler. That's who I am. Everywhere you go to see me, that's me. It's pink. The words match who I am. And so consistency is key. So you've got your words, you've got your core messages about who you are. And I'll just use me as an example. I'm a cheerleader or a champion of midlife women and a cheerleader for all women. Boom. That's everywhere. I'm a fierce supporter and advocate for midlife women. You can keep adding in messages, but you see where I'm going. And it is a process. So you're going to want to practice, you know, saying things out loud. You're going to write down different drafts, but just start somewhere with a descriptive key message that describes you. And then layer in how you're showing up. Is it blue? Are you yellow? Are you pink? Are you gray? Are you subtle? I've worked with so many clients and everyone thinks that personal branding, it's about like being really showy and out there and loud and this and that. It's not. It's just about being your authentic self. So I'm working with someone right now who's in financial services and she's very client forward and focused. It's a regulated industry and her color palette, her words are, first of all, there's a formality to them, but there's also a warm and welcoming nature to them because that is who she is. And her color palette is steeped in a little bit of those blues, but the agency we're working with on her brand look and feel is putting together this beautiful design where she has blues. There's a little bit of colors to warm them up, but it's still kind of rooted in financial services, yet it's adding her own personal spin and her personality on it. So it will be memorable and people will identify her as the woman to go to who's not going to be mansplaining, you know, the financial realtor in the world of investments to women. She's the one who is going to be looking at you as an equal partner. She's going to be the one who is sitting beside you during your life's journey. So part of her messaging is I'm here for all seasons. So start with me now, and we're going to be working together for decades. And so it's all very intentional. So just want to give you a couple of those examples to kind of root it down, because sometimes talking about a personal branding and messaging, it's hard to kind of think about that without some real world examples. And another important thing about your personal brand is it's something that stays with you. So if you're in a company, say you're working at Google, you're God knows where you are, you also have a personal brand. So think about how you're showing up, and is it really company forward, or have you started to establish your own thought leadership and your own personal brand? So a friend of mine who's very high up in a big tech company right now, she's got a very solid personal brand. She's a big mucky muck at a company, but her personal brand is also includes DEI, women's empowerment, and she's a like women leadership. So she's got a couple different buckets underneath her that she really focuses on. And she's got some big goals. You know, she might not always stay at this particular company. So that's the important thing about a personal brand. Your company can't take it away from you. So if you're going to another company, you've got your brand of who you are. Like I'm Jen, I'm me, I'm pro women, I'm pro equality, I'm pro a lot of things. That doesn't go away because I, you know, leave a company. So think about that. So this friend in particular, she wants to sit on boards. We're getting to that phase right now. Ladies out there, you know, we're midlife. So you've established yourself, a lot of you in big, long careers, and you want to go serve on a different level. So a lot of women want to go sit on boards. They want to go do different things. And so this personal brand helps you get to those places. And it helps establish you in this area that you want to be established in, and it establishes you as a thought leader. And so I'm on a tangent right now about thought leadership. That gets thrown out a little bit. So tossed around, and people are like, what is thought leadership? Really, thought leadership is picking really an area that you want to be seen as a leader in, but we don't go out and say, oh, I am a thought leader in women's empowerment. You just start go doing the thing. Behind the scenes, you are establishing your thought leadership. And so you'll do that in a couple different ways. And so I want to explain a couple of those to you today. So we've got many avenues available to us. Luckily, business is done so different now than it was many, many years ago. So we've got an opportunity to establish ourselves as a thought leader by showing up on social media. We do it by having a newsletter. We can do it by having a podcast, doing Instagram lives, doing LinkedIn lives. You've got so much at your fingertips to establish your thought leadership that you actually don't need anybody else to help you. You can go out there right now and say, hey, I'm going to be a thought leader in the health industry. I'm going to be a thought leader in marketing. Whatever your expertise is, just say it to yourself and then just start showing up as that person. And I'll use myself as an example again. So when I launched this podcast a couple of years ago, I was like, I want to be seen as this woman who's rallying and this, again, this thought leader, but I'm not saying that out loud. I just want to be seen as a leader in midlife women's empowerment. How am I going to do that? How am I going to do that fast? I had a real urgency about me a couple of years ago. I still have it, but I was crazy a couple of years ago, hence why I kicked off, started this whole thing with 2 podcasts a week. And so the quickest way to do that and to establish me as this new person in the world was to start this podcast. And I could have done a couple of different things. I could have just focused solely on social media, writing, started a blog, but you've got to go out there and claim it. And there's power in claiming it. So if you're thinking about something right now, just claim it. And you don't need to make a big, there doesn't need to be a ticker tape parade about it. Just start with somewhere. Start with a blog, start showing up on social media, pick one thing, and then boom, all of a sudden you're out there building your thought leadership. And then soon people are going to identify you with that thing. And so, I will again use myself as an example, 2.5 years into this of me, going out publicly and supporting women. People come to me all the time because I've established myself as this woman who is pro midlife, pro women over 40, pro women, anti-ageism. So, people send me things all the time. They'll send me memes. They'll send me videos. They'll be like, I thought of you when I saw this woman who is 85 starting a business. So that's really about when personal branding meets, thought leadership, and everything collides and people are identifying you with that thing. So let's dig into social media a little bit. There's so much that I want to tell you today, and I'm really going to be talking kind of top line about a lot of these things. And just as a reminder, if you sign up for my newsletter, I have got a guide. It's a guide that tells you how to step into the spotlight. And there's also another guide of pivoting. So there's a 12 steps to pivot. There is a guide on stepping into the spotlight. If you sign up for my newsletter, they automatically, you have the opportunity to download those. So I know you're going to want to take a lot of notes, but this is, again, another plug to get on my newsletter because I've got resources for you. And also every Tuesday, I come out with tips on how to uplevel your life and business. So I just shoot these things to you as they come into my brain, and that if I get a hit, I know you need to hear it and it's going to help you, it comes out. Okay, sidebar for my newsletter. Okay, social media. A lot of people grunt and groan about social media, but it's necessary for business. I happen to love social media, but you've got to put some parameters around it. And if you're just starting out, or you're pivoting, or you want to establish something new, my advice is to start with 1, maybe 2 channels and really max those out and really get committed to being consistent and showing up and serving your people. So let's say pick Instagram or LinkedIn. Start small and say, I'm going to show up 3 times a week and be consistent with that cadence. I have another client who She's in the fashion business and was like, all right, I'm pivoting, I'm starting. And she committed to showing up every day on TikTok. Every day. She's like, every day she showed up and she committed to it. And literally within weeks, and with almost, I want to say 1,000 or less than 1,000 followers on TikTok, she got a brand deal. And she has worked twice with this one company to promote them. Cold hard cash, honey. And that is the value of consistency and showing up. So don't overwhelm yourself and go, I need to be on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok and do all these things, because guess what? You're going to get overwhelmed and you're going to be crying in your Cheerios wondering how to do it all. It's exactly what I did. You pick one and do it really, really well and serve those people. And then once you've kind of mastered one channel, then you can open up another channel. In the case of this particular client, and we just launched her Instagram a few weeks ago to complement what she's doing on TikTok, and her strategies for each of those are a bit different. So, and that's going to happen with you. My strategy on LinkedIn is a little bit different than my strategy on Instagram. It's different than my strategy on TikTok. So you've got to sit with everything and go, who are the people I'm speaking to on LinkedIn? Who are the people I'm speaking to on Instagram? They're going to be a variation of the same person. You might be trying to just grow a big base right now because you want to write a book and you need to sell a book to a big base, or you've got a product company. So just be really clear on what you're trying to do and pick the channels that are going to support you in that. I'm going to use another client as an example. She's in the healthcare field, and she uses Instagram more for talking about the clinic and what they offer and procedures and things like that. So it's really consumer friendly focused. Here's what's going on. Here's how this procedure can help you, or this cream can help you. And then on LinkedIn, her strategy is more about her thought leadership in the space of being a 25-year professional in the field, that she's a trainer. She trains other healthcare professionals. She has papers that are published. She does research. She wants to expand eventually into two different businesses that don't require her to use her hands. So it's very strategic and focused. And so when you know who you're talking to and what you want to achieve, having that clarity is really going to help you get your message out on social media. So just don't, and here's one of my final points on social media. Don't show up and just throw things out there because you need to throw stuff out there. People can sniff through that. You can see that. You probably have seen something this morning going, oh, that woman or that guy just put this out there. And it really had nothing to do with who they are, but they just did it to get likes, or they did it to get comments, but it's nothing related to what they're offering the world. I see it a lot, and it's just like an icky feeling. It's inauthentic. So don't do that. So don't feel like you've got to post. It's better. I'm going to tell you this right now. It's better to have one post per week that you put a lot of heart and soul into and meaning, and you want to help somebody. That's your whole driving force, versus just throwing stuff up there to throw it out there. Social media just doesn't work that way anymore. It's hard to fight through the noise. So it's a slow build, and be intentional about it, and always remember who you're talking to and who you are when you're doing it. Okay. The other part of social media, and I'm just going to leave it at this because I could have a whole podcast episode about this, and this goes to your personal brand, is to make sure that your bio, everywhere that you show up on social media, you've got the same photo, you've got a version of the same bio, and your messaging is clear. And bonus points when you're starting out is creating your own hashtag. And that sort of establishes you as who you are. You guys know what my hashtag is? YNTFO. You're not too fucking old. That hashtag is everywhere. It's on every post I make anywhere in the world of social media. Anywhere on the interwebs, YNTFO comes up. I'm waiting for it to take fire. It will someday. Hashtags take fire. But also you will see, and you can have your community tag you if it's your YNTFO, whatever it is. And that's how you're going to see how people are embracing and connecting with your brand. One final bit of social media too is focus on a couple content pillars. So what happens is and you follow people like this, I used to be this person, you're throwing a lot of stuff out there trying to see kind of what sticks. But what really helps is to focus on a few different content pillars. You're always going to get women's empowerment, everything from me, like left, right, and center, equality, an 85-year-old woman who's, starting a business. If there's some woman who's, overcome odds, I will post about that. That's one of my content buckets. Obviously, another content bucket is my podcast. So everything, my guests, anything I'm doing within the podcast. Another content bucket is kind of midlife in general. So, just identifying with all of you that midlife there's challenges, and we can laugh about it. We can laugh about crazy husbands and spouses and partners, and talk about, gosh, it's hard to have aging parents and things like that. A minor little content bucket in there, I kind of have, I call it sort of my catch-all bucket, is I pepper in a bit of my social life as it applies to empowering you. So I will, occasionally pop something in about a kid and a challenge. I will occasionally, pop in going to yoga or going on walks and things like that. But again, it's all through this lens of empowering you. So I don't talk about everything. No one wants to hear about everything, but I'm true to myself and to my people, and you're my people within those content buckets. So I will use one of my clients as an example who's in fashion. Her content buckets are going to be obviously establishing herself as an influencer and someone with something to say and how to dress. And so she does outfits of the day. Another bucket is, talking about capsule collections and tips, really achievable tips for women to help empower them to go out there and be successful using fashion as sort of the underpinning. And then another bucket for her is going to be a little bit about travel and family, because travel is something she's going to actually want to be building into her business. That's kind of going to be the next phase. And then her general sort of out and about, being a woman, sort of a fabulous woman midlife who's starting a new business, and also, shouting out other women who are doing the same thing. So she's clear on those buckets. So once you get clear, you get focused, and then people know what they're going to get when they come to you. So, and I think, you're going to get a little bit of humor too when you come from me. Case in point, I just posted a funny video that somebody had posted just about husbands, and when you say, hey, honey, don't look over there, there's like Bruce Willis or something, and your husband like turns his head and goes, wait, what? Bruce Willis? This is a true story. In my case, it was David Hasselhoff with my husband, but I posted that up there. Does it have anything to do with women's empowerment? No, but it's part of my midlife thing and just being funny and relatable, because I have a crazy husband who's like, what? And who's embarrassed me 9 times out of 10. So, and that makes people feel connected to you. And it's no bullshit. It's not a weird story. It's establishing a really deep connection with your audience. So it can't always be all serious all the time. People really want to know who you are. Okay. Now, I own an agency, and I have done PR and marketing for 30 years. So I would be remiss if I didn't dive into this a little bit with you all today to understand really how PR and getting yourself out there works. So here's a little primer. If you listen to some other marketing podcasts, you might hear people talk about this, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of 101. In the world of PR, there's like 4 different PR and marketing. There's sort of 4 different buckets of channels. Number 1 is your own. So your owned channels are, if you have a podcast, a newsletter, a blog, do you do videos? Do you do events? Do you do Instagram lives and LinkedIn lives? Those are all things and outlets that you own. You've got control over. You create that content. You establish who you are via those vehicles. They're all yours, and they're beautiful and wonderful. And I've pretty much got all of those in that bucket. And you don't need to start with all, just start with one. You can start with a newsletter. Number 2 is earned. And earned is really where PR comes in. So that's if you are a guest on a podcast, if you get featured in the press, if you get featured in the digital media. So that's really where kind of the traditional media falls, is in earned, meaning you got to earn it. And when you say earn, it takes a long time to get there. I'm going to go into that in a minute. Of course, you've got social media, which we just talked about. So that's all of your social media outlets. And I do want to do one caveat and a, buyer beware about social media, because we all need to hear this every few months, is remember that you don't own social media channels. A lot of you listening have probably been hacked. And if you don't have two-factor authentication on all your social channels, please do it right now, because nothing is more terrifying and sad and depressing when I see dear friends, colleagues out there going, my social media was hacked, and they're starting again from zero. So imagine right now, where would you be if all your social media went away? As much as social media is beautiful, I mean, you've heard all the news about TikTok. Who knows what's going to be happening with TikTok? I'm not a TikTok expert and what's happening. I don't think it'll completely go away. But if your whole business is on TikTok and you don't have a newsletter, you have to think about that. So just imagine right now, if all your social went away, how would you reach your people? Okay, that was my little tip for you today. And then there's paid. And so paid would be advertising, advertorials, things like that. So if you flip through a magazine and you see promotion, you see something that looks like it maybe an article was written, there's going to be somewhere in there that says like promotion or special promotion, special section, things like that. That means that was a pay to play. And you can, and they're not all bad, but just I'm giving you a little bit of an overview. So anything paid would be advertising, advertorials, things of that nature. So I want to teach you, I've been going on a lot, but I really want to teach you a couple little tips on how to get yourself on podcasts and get you out there in the press. And I will tell you right now that the first thing you need to do before you think about getting on podcasts and before you think about being featured in the press, you're like, I'm going to be in the New York Times tomorrow. Nope. That's not going to happen. You need to focus on all of your channels first. How are you showing up on social media? Do you have a newsletter? How are you communicating with people? And I'll tell you why. In the world today, of media, I'll just give you a little primer on the media. We have shrunken newsrooms. We have media outlets that are getting shuttered left, right, and center. This diminish has been happening the past 15-ish years. Ever since the interweb sort of took off, media has shrunk down. Does anybody even get a newspaper delivered anymore? We all think of how you get your little bits of information. So media outlets are dwindling, space is dwindling, everybody's fighting for, 2 spots on the Today Show and 5 column inches somewhere, like say in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Elle Magazine, whatever it is that you have your eye on. And it's really hard to get featured. So the first thing you need to do is master your own channels. Master your own channels. Because then if you go to reach out to, we're going to use podcasting as an example, because media are people too. Podcasters are people too. So they're going to look at you and go, what is this person's reach? Caveat here, unless you have something earth-shattering, I'll talk about that in a minute. But they're going to go like, look at me. Hey, how many followers does she have on social media? What is she doing on LinkedIn? How is she showing up in the world? Because they're going to want to see that you are a safe bet. You've already have kind of mastered your message and you're getting your point out there and getting your point across before they sort of take a shot at you. So I'll give you an example. I get pitched all the time for people to be on the podcast. And I will look at folks who haven't even established their social media following and presence. And people, I'm going to talk about pitching in a minute too, and how to write a beautiful pitch that will get you featured in the press. But I've got to look to see also with my sort of, media hat on going, okay, I've got this big podcast. I invest a lot of money into this podcast. And unless somebody has something earth-shattering to say, I got to see how, and this is how everybody thinks, they're going to be looking at your outlet, like where you are showing up. Is it Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, to see if they can reach new people? Everybody right now, just know this, everybody is trying to reach new audiences and reach new people. And the media are the same way. Podcasters are the same way. So get your house in order first, and that's going to help you then get to the next level. So step number 1, so you've got your internal house in order, you're showing up, you're being consistent, you're establishing your personal brand, your thought leadership. Now you're ready to go out there to pitch yourself for collaborations, to get on the press, to get featured on a podcast, to get featured in the press. So start engaging with folks, start engaging with people that so somebody you want to be on somebody's show, you want to be featured in their publication, start engaging with them. Follow them, of course, comment on their posts, share them, support them. Because like I said, everyone is trying to get seen and heard. Everyone is scrambling. Everyone's trying to get those eyeballs. Nobody has a big attention span. We're all trying to do the same thing. So the best way, and do this authentically. Don't go into all this going, oh, I'm just going to use that person and do this and not being authentic about it. Engage with people and really ask yourself, am I excited about their content? Which you should be, because if it's somewhere you want to be, it's going to be in line with, who you are and your values, what you're selling, all that kind of thing. So start engaging with them. And that's what I've done. I have relationships, built from years and years and years from owning my first PR firm. And I've got relationships that I'm nurturing right now. And I'm friends with these people, and there's no ask yet. There's no ask until I'm ready to make the ask. And so I'm truly, truly excited about all these people. I consider them friends. I share their content. If there's, moderating a panel at an event, I share that, shout them out, do all those things now in the hopes that maybe within 6 months to a year, yes, I said it, 6 months to a year, you'll get maybe booked on the podcast, maybe you'll get an entree into potentially getting featured. Engage. I'm going to give you a story of one of the gals I had in my mastermind, and she's got a beautiful program that she does, and it's really important. And she was saying on our mastermind, this was months and months and months ago, that she's like, yeah, I emailed the San Francisco Chronicle and they didn't write back. They won't write back. And they're certainly not going to write back after one email. And so I said, oh, bless. It's like, we all have to have that courage. And I'm not dissuading any of you from doing that, but just understand, like I said before, newsrooms are shrinking. And this was, the point I was telling her, and which I'm going to tell you too, is that it takes years to build relationships with some of these big, big outlets like that. And that's why people hire PR firms. So when I had my first PR firm, Whole Foods was one of my clients. And I was laughing with my one of my masterminders. And I just said, they never responded to me either. And I had Whole Foods as a client. And, it took forever to get them to respond back. And that is with a big client that they should be covering because it's food. So just understand that it's really hard. It's noisy. There's not a lot of space. But again, it goes to establish your own thought leadership through your own channels. And the odds are you might not even need any of this other stuff. This other stuff is going to be gravy when you get it. So how do you pitch yourself? So this all goes back to being authentic and having a great story to tell. And so tell your story. And before you even tell that story, understand and know who you are pitching inside and out, and the outlet that you are pitching inside and out. I can't tell you how many pitches I get pitching men on my podcast. I don't have men on my podcast. They call me by the wrong name. You can tell it's a generic email that was sent out to 1,000 people. They don't send me anything compelling. They send me pitches and then send pitches again, shaming me for not responding to them. That is a true story. Please don't ever do that. And so they're going about it all wrong. The right way to do it is when you go in methodical order, like I've just told you, you establish your own thought leadership in your own outlets, show you know what you're talking about. Then start following and engaging with folks, start listening to podcasts, read articles voraciously, consume, know these people, know these podcasts inside and out. So when you go to pitch, it's better you're not going to get anywhere by doing broad pitches to people and just doing them sort of generically. And this goes back to PR 101, what, we all learned back in the day. And that's how I was successful in this business, is because, I'm not going to go to the New York Times with a canned pitch. I'm not going to go to the Today Show with some canned pitch. I'm going to understand, study them, and understand what they need, and a hole I'm going to fill. So think about you. What value are you going to bring to their listeners? What is exciting about you, your story, your book, whatever it is? Why should they care? What is your story? Why should they care? Why should their readers care? Why should their listeners care? Now, I read every pitch that comes in. I do. People probably don't think I do because maybe I don't respond. I'm certainly not going to respond to you if you say, hey, Jane, and you don't say, hey, Jen. That's an automatic. It's just going into the trash because you haven't even, what are you even doing if you don't even get my name right? So I'll use an example of a pitch I have in my mind of somebody I want to be on my podcast who's really big and bright, and I want to be on her podcast someday, but I'm going to invite her to be on my podcast first. So that's always, if you have an outlet and you have a way to help shine the light on somebody first, that's also a really great first step. I've done that a lot, and I intend to do that a lot. Just get people on your show, get people on an Instagram Live or LinkedIn Live, elevate them before you ever ask them for anything. That is a pro tip. And never come in hot. Like I said, never come in hot saying, oh, I need to be on your podcast, or I need to be on this, or I need to be in your da-da-da. Why? Why does anybody care? You instead craft something like this. Hey, XYZ, I've been listening to your podcast for years and I love it. And you are, an inspiration to me. I've bought your book. I've given it out as client gifts. And yet also I've followed you on social media forever, and I consider you one of my guides. And, here's the story I'd love to tell. We have such a similar experience of owning PR firms and experiencing burnout and wondering what I meant to do. And I'd love to, share that story. I'd love to share your story on my podcast because I think it would really resonate with my listeners. So that would be like me asking somebody to come on. And then if I wanted to pitch myself, I would say almost the exact same thing and say, I think we'd have a really great conversation because I haven't yet heard it on your show, that you haven't spoken yet to midlife women, and how, the patriarchy has traditionally tamped down our ability to be seen and heard, and that we've got a lot of historic sort of oppression that we need to shed. And I've got some really great tips and tools that I would love to share with your listeners on how to unpack all that and how to step into the spotlight. And then you back that up with your bio and all your credentials, other places you've been shown. So you put in your pitch all your any other places that you've been featured. So if you've been featured on another podcast, if you've been featured somewhere, do that. If not, just put in all of your pertinent details and then send it off. And you might get a response, you might not. And don't cry in your tears if you don't. It's just not the right time. Continue your relationship with this person. Continue supporting that person. Continue showing up, and they know. And then one day, when they're like, oh gosh, I really need to talk about X, you will be top of mind. None of this stuff happens overnight. Once in a million chance, it does. Like if you have something earth shattering, or if you are a book author and you have a big shiny book, it's going to be a little bit different. And I'm not to say, I don't want to like rain on anyone's parade. I just want to give you the real 411 on how hard it is to get featured in the press. It really, truly is. And it's noisy. It's noisy. So start small. That's going to be my final tip for you, is to start small. Focus on smaller podcasts. If you know somebody, a friend, a colleague who started a podcast, it's the same pitch. Don't assume you're going to get on anything, but start with smaller podcasts. Start with smaller media outlets. Start with just somebody who's, maybe complimentary to you in business. And hey, let's do an Instagram Live together. Again, you just want to get in front of new people and spread your message. So look at everybody as a potential media outlet. It doesn't even have to be traditional press. So your friend with her Instagram is another outlet. So don't discount that. And that's also how you test out your messages and you get more comfortable getting out there. I hope I'm not overwhelming you, but I really wanted to pour into you all today because I'm so passionate about you all being successful and getting out there and showing up. that, I'll talk to you till the cows come home. I was actually joking with my podcast manager, and I know I've said this before, but I'm not the gal who's ever going to have like a 20, 15-minute podcast. It's just not in me because I have too much to share and I just love to talk. If you've ever met me in person, you know that I'll talk to you till the cows come home, and I'm the last one to leave a party, the last one to leave an event. It's who I am. I come from a long line of socializers and empowerers, and so that's me. So my final little tip, if you're still with me, again, you're going to want to go back and listen to this a million times. I know it's a lot of information, but I wanted to have it on one episode so you could go back and to refer to this a lot. Maybe in the future, I'll do one whole takeaway on one of these topics, but for right now, I just want to pour into you so you've got everything that you need. My final tip is about just when you're showing up on video and showing up online, just some basic tips so you can show up crisp, you can show up shiny, and show up in a way that people are listening to what you have to say and not distracted by dangly earrings or dark lighting or the glare on your glasses. So a couple tips, and these are tips I give in my media training. Simple tips. Lighting. Make sure you've got good lighting. Now, you don't have to have good lighting all the time. Like if you need to go do an Instagram story and you're in your car, it's fine. But I'm talking about when you're filming sort of your premium content. Like right now, I'm filming this podcast. It's going on YouTube. I've got a beautiful background. I've got books behind me written by women I admire. I've got pink roses. I'm wearing a pink jacket. Watch this on YouTube and you'll see. My hair is tidy. I don't have dangly earrings. I don't have things that are getting in the visual way of you listening to my message. Most people listen with their eyes, and really what comes out of your mouth is a minuscule portion of what they hear. They're really looking at you and they make judgments about you in that split second. Now, caveat, I'm not telling you to be somebody that you're not. I'm just telling you how to show up crisp and clean and not be distracted. If long dangly earrings are your thing and you're selling jewelry, that's how you need to show up. I'm just saying, in general, make sure there's not a lot of busyness going on so people can focus on your message. So good lighting, see what your background is, make sure it's nice and tidy, it's on brand for you. Invest in a good microphone, invest in a good camera. So I've got a great webcam. I've got a great microphone, obviously, because I'm a podcaster. Microphones, all these things are not expensive. I've also got a microphone that I use if I'm out and about. It's a little remote microphone that I'll use if I'm, outside and it could be louder, or I want to talk to somebody and interview somebody sort of on the fly. I've got a remote mic. Again, all these are very inexpensive. You can find them on Amazon. And so just get sort of that house in order. So when you show up or somebody asks you to do a live, and I'm going to tell you a story right now. One morning, I was actually attending somebody else's Instagram live and the guest didn't show up. And so my friend was doing this and she has a pretty big platform. And she's like, oh, the guest didn't show up. Hey, Jen, do you want to go live with us? You're like, wow, but I'm prepared. I've got lighting. I've got cameras. Thank God I brushed my hair that morning. And I said, sure, because you never want to say no to opportunities like that. So you showed up. I said, just give me a sec. And I was messaging her. I said, give me a sec, set everything up, and we were good to go. And I went live for her for 45 minutes. And it was great. I got in front of her audience. And this was a couple of years ago. I got in front of her audience. I was able to use that video and repurpose it and show my leadership in the areas that I just have talked to you about. And so I'm telling you that story. So you can always think about being camera ready, and don't ever give up an opportunity, even if you're not, by the way. But this all goes to establishing your brand and who you are. So you show up with intention. You show up because you care. So the way I show up, it's like I care about you. I don't want to show up all disheveled and look like I just rolled out of bed. I care about you. I want you to hear my message. And so also, you put on a great outfit. And, I've got a stylist actually be coming on the show soon to talk about the power of fashion and how it can really help you step into your power and step into the spotlight. So we're going to save that conversation for another time, but just a quick little bit on the right kind of clothing and things to wear if you're on camera. Patterns are generally a no. You want to wear solid colors and work, jewel tones are usually best. and you just don't want to have a lot of distraction again going on. So right now, as I'm recording this, I've got, oh my gosh, you guessed it, a pink jacket on. It's not busy. There's nothing showy about it. It's just on brand for me. It matches my background. It's tidy. It's also this great, fabulous velvet jacket I got before the holidays, and it makes me feel great. So I put that on. I'm immediately transported and elevated into a different mindset instead of sitting here kind of recording in yoga clothes. Like I wouldn't be feeling the same energy. And it would be, I feel like it's even most disrespectful to you to show up that way. I'm showing up because I want to show up the way I want you all to show up. So being in your power. So that's it. I think your heads are probably exploding by now because that was a huge dump. And that's just an insight of what you'll get if you work with me. I really got you covered from, left, right, and center. And all of what you heard is what I work with my clients on. So if you are needing help and you want help growing your business, you want help stepping into the spotlight, you know where to reach me. You can click the link in the show notes and you can book a complimentary call with me. I'm happy to help you. I'm also going to be coming out this year with some programs. I'm also going to be coming out with some digital courses and things like that. So I'm going to be coming out with a lot more to support you because I know you can't always take programs. You can't always hire somebody. You can't always invest. So I'm going to have you covered on all ends of the spectrum. But for right now, for today, you've got this on the podcast, and I hope this was helpful. You can always reach out to me if you have any questions. But if you are interested, of course, in getting some help, please just book a call with me. I'm friendly. It's not scary, but let's talk about it. And I'll tell you if you're ready for it. I have multiple ways that I work with people, multiple ways. So don't discount yourself if you're thinking you want to do something. Just go ahead and book that call and we can talk. Because you know me, I love to talk. All right. The final tip for you, the final tip for you, and Jen is going to shut up and let you go about your day, is have fun. Have fun. And think about this whole journey about stepping up and out as I get to do this. I am in a beautiful place and time in the world where really the only thing stopping me is me. So I get to get up and out. It was so much harder 20 years ago to get seen and heard. Right now, you can go immediately and create a video. You could go live. You could go write an Instagram post. You could send out a newsletter. There's so many things you can do and just say, I get to do this. Life is rich. Life is beautiful. I get to take up space and have some fun. Have fun. It gets to be fun. I find that if you marry your passion with thinking about what you want to do and does it sound fun and can I help people, that's really the magic secret sauce. You really can't talk yourself into something if it's not in your soul to provide that. I can't do it. I can't do it. And I'm venturing to guess you can't do it either. And when you do cross over and you marry that passion with that aspect of fun and your expertise, that is when magic happens. All right. My dear, dear friends out there all over the world, thank you for hanging in on this episode. I really hope you found it helpful. I can't wait to see you all going out there and shining your bright lights. Nothing makes me happier than seeing you stepping into that authentic power and shining your bright light. It's our time. It is our time to shine. I love you all so much. Have a beautiful day.